Rich, how do you get the PATs cleaned up since you guys have missed not three in a row, but one in each of the last 3 games?
Yeah, I just think it's no different than in field goals. You know, you go back to work and you work on the snap, the hold, and the kick, and you know, get a mindset of I got to hit it when I go out there, and hopefully your plant foot's in the right place, and the hold is good, and all those things. So it's no different than a field goal. PAT being 33 yards, it's basically become a field goal in the league. It's in the middle of the field, and you know, I know he'd like to get them all back and put them all down the middle. So hopefully we'll be better going forward. Just really going back to work.
Rich, given that the injury list heading into that game on Thursday was extensive, and that always affects special teams as far as who's up and who's available, were you pleased or proud of the job so many new faces did in coverage units, especially considering you had them on long fields for a lot of the game?
Yeah, well, I think I've stated in here before that we think we do a good job throughout our organization with preparing all these players throughout the week as if they're going to have to come up and play. They don't ever really know until Saturday or Sunday morning to some degree. And so when we put them in position, even if they're on the show team, hopefully we're going to put them in position where if they come up, that's the spot that they've gotten work at. And I think it's been advantageous to us a little bit. You saw it with Benny, you know, Sapp making the big play the second week that he was up, and now Zane's been making some plays. So I think throughout our entire organization, on both sides of the ball, or all 3 phases, we've been doing that, and I think our players have responded well to it.
Rich, based on the way you guys lined up against it, did you know they were going to run that fake punt? It looked like you guys were ready.
Well, you know, they've had 2 successful fake punts this year, so you know, I think if you remember the Kansas City game, they had one almost in the same territory. So they're a really, you know, we talked about it going into the game. They're a really good unit. Had a lot of respect for their personal protector and the way in which he plays, and for Dave Phipp and the way in which he runs his unit, you know. So, you know, we were in a good front, I thought, if they were going to run something at that particular spot. And, you know, we ended up making a good play. I thought our guys did a good job, you know, defending against what they were trying to do to us. But it wasn't anything that we just kind of sniffed out and knew or anything. But when you go into a game like that, and the game is close, you know, teams are trying to look to steal a possession some way if they can, and they tried there, and I've been on both ends of those, you know, when you stop it, and I've been on the other end when you don't, and they make a good play. So it was good for our team.
On a free kick, the guy can run as far as he wants to kick it, right?
Say that again.
With the kicker, he can, you know, he doesn't have, there's no time thing, so he
Correct.
can take 5 or 6 steps.
Correct.
Or whatever. You have to worry about it getting blocked.
Correct.
How many yards does that add, do you think, to the distance?
Well, I think it's an interesting circumstance. You know, we actually talked about it in that particular situation, but it's not as easy as people think to get a running start with the ball on the ground. When they get a long running start, the ball is on the tee. So it's a lot different when you get a running start, doesn't matter how far you're going to run, when the ball is now being held on the ground to get some distance on the kick. So we work on it every week, but you know, we felt like we had a play. Coach LaFleur felt like he had a play, could get us a little bit closer. We went through the exact situation in practice a couple weeks ago and got ourselves in position to kick one. Was actually a little longer than 63, and it was good in practice. And I thought he had a good shot at it, and I thought our guys did a great job of covering it. So the other thing about the free kick is when you kick it, the clock starts. So you'd like to have enough time, whereas if they don't touch it, the ball's coming back to that spot. So there's a lot of things that go into the fair catch free kick, and we thought we made a decision, put us in the best position to get a chance to kick one before the end of the half.
So is the distance probably no different, a free kick as opposed to a field goal?
Yeah, I think that it's a big difference where they line up. I think most kickers, and you can talk to ours, but would rather be in position to get a snap, hold, and kick than get a running start at a 66-yarder or a 72-yarder. I actually was in the same situation. We played Green Bay in 16 in the playoffs, and right before the half, we had an opportunity for a fair catch free kick, and we declined it because it was like a 72-yard kick, and we just didn't want to put our team in that position.
So I'm sorry, I didn't realize that. So if it goes, like say, goes out of bounds, it comes back to the spot if there's still time on the clock?
Going out of bounds, I think, is a little bit different, but if it goes to the end zone and they don't touch it, it comes back to the spot. So let's say you kick it with 6 seconds on the clock and they don't touch it and you miss it. It's going to come back. Now, they have a shot at a Hail Mary or whatever else they might want to do, depending on where the ball is. So I know the rule on that thing is about, you know. So I'm glad I got a bunch of guys analytically that can tell us what we're doing.
When was the last time you saw one?
What's that?
When was Last time you saw a free kick?
Again, the last time for me that it kind of came up where we had to have a conversation about on the sideline was that particular game, but I can't remember seeing one. I think Coach Parcells was a part of one when he was back coaching. It might have been at Dallas, but I know he's the last guy I think that actually had a chance to do it.
These guys at 68 with that.
So there you go.
He's been around that long.
Yeah, we both have. It's a good thing. It's good.
Do you kick it from the line of scrimmage?
Wherever it's caught, it goes back to that hash. So you can put your kickoff team out there, the holder comes out and holds the ball, and he can get a long run, or he can take a three-step, or whatever he wants to do, have a chance to kick it. If it goes through, it's 3 points. If it doesn't, they can return it. If they don't touch it, it can go back to the spot. We all get on the rule now. I think we all. It's the most I've ever talked about it in 40 years. So.
Speaking of being able to return it, though, they were able to return the field goal that was short, right? I mean, how did you think your guys handled that? It looked pretty dangerous for a period of time.
I think those are always dangerous. I thought their guy did a great job of staying in bounds. You know, he kind of had to tiptoe on the edge, but again, it's something we practice. We'd like to think that we had Tucker out there and we had Ben out there, and then, TJ ended up missing him once and came back and got his hands on him. I thought Yash did a great job of keeping it over there towards that sideline. And again, it's just either way, right? Whatever you decide to do, if you fair catch free kick, if you're kicking a long field goal, if the guy goes back there, you're taking a shot, right? And you'd like to think that you work some of those situations and put your guys in position where hopefully they can, possibly make a play. And we weren't at Auburn, so I thought we had a chance to cover it up, So
you work on free kicks.
We do.
You work on covering a return of a field goal
We do.
that comes up
we work
short.
on the return part as well.
I'm curious what other kinds of like wacky, unlikely to happen, but you never know type stuff you
We
work
work on
on.
those too. There's things that come up every week, right? And around the National Football League and college football, and so when they come up, you'd like to learn from them and put your team in that situation. Coach LaFleur has situations on every Friday, and we put our team through a bunch of those gymnastics of what could happen, and here's how we would react to it. Here's how we would play it. Here's what we would do against it. And you go through those in training camp as well. You have a big list of them, and you're constantly putting your team in that situation, and we're talking to them on Fridays. Connor does a great job with a film that Coach puts in front of the team. He puts together a bunch of situations that went on throughout the league, and we let the guys look at them, and then some of them we work on. And we actually worked on the one that we did in the game right before the half, where Matt had to play, gets us down there. We could have gotten to the 40. I felt like we, might have been a little bit better chance, but we'll take a shot at 63 indoors, right? Great environment. Give them a chance at it.
How do you find out about those weird plays?
Say it again.
Like if a weird play happens, an unusual circumstance happens somewhere else in the league, how do you find out about
Well,
it?
people watch every single game that goes on in NFL and in college football, and so we have the resources throughout the league that we're watching everything. The exhausting amount of film that every coach watches on the games we're getting ready to play. I mean, we're getting ready to play the Kansas City Chiefs, and Dave Toub was in Philly when I was in Tampa, and Dave Toub was in Chicago when I played against him there. So I've gone through. We have all his film, like he has all of our film, and so getting prepared for somebody that's been around a long time, that's had a bunch of different return guys, and credit to Dave. Devin Hester's a finalist this year into the Hall of Fame, and we had him in Chicago, and Dave's always got an incredible return game every place he's been. In Philly, they had Brian Mitchell, and Chicago, they got Devin Hester, and then all of a sudden now he's got multiple return guys back there. And now Richie James is back there playing for him in Kansas City, who I'm very familiar with because he's one of my son's best friends. They played college ball together at Middle Tennessee. And we played against Richie in New York last year, well, in London when he was in New York, and he had a good game against us. So we have a big challenge this week playing against this return unit and the way in which they're coached in Kansas City by Dave. And Dave's been around a long time. In my mind, he's one of the guys that should be talked about to be a leader of men and be in front of the room. And what he's done in special teams around the league is respected. I know it's respected by us.
Rich, what'd you think of what Daniel and the Flyers did, to be able to pin the Lions back? I think 3 times they were inside their own 10.
Yeah, I think it was like the 9, and the 2, the great play by Scooter over there. And I think, he's getting better. I think we go back to the Atlanta game, and we were on a 38, and he kicked the ball in the end zone, right? And everybody was upset about it, and it was a learning experience. And I think we're going to go through that with both of those guys. We talked about it. I think the calming force for us has been Matt to some degree. He's played a lot of football, but they're both, we think, on the uptake, you know, and I just think they have to keep working. Don't buy into the hype when it's really good. Like, what did Honors hit? I don't know how many in a row. We thought, you know, he was going to just go perfect all year, and now we've had some mishits. So I think last week is last week. You know, what did today look like? What did yesterday look like? What's tomorrow gonna look like? And hopefully, if you practice well, you should be expected to play well in the game.
With the weather, maybe Keyshawn will get an opportunity on kickoffs this week. But I was looking at the Chiefs have allowed 3 returns all year. So how do you prepare for their kickoff coverage unit, which hasn't had to defend kickoffs?
Well, they've defended kickoffs in the past, right? Just talked about Dave, and you know, we don't know what the weather conditions are going to be here come Sunday night, but they're a similar weather team, right? And they've been in that situation. They've played in a lot of playoff games in really cold weather with extreme wind. They've got a tremendous kicker. They got a really good punter that really can place the ball in a lot of different places, gets the ball out of his hand quickly. So I just think we're preparing against things that they have done in the past. And what it could look like if we get an opportunity. What we're going to do is really more important than kind of what they're going to do. You know, how are we going to handle whoever their good players are, and what we're going to do within our scheme to give us a chance if we get the opportunity. But I'd like to think we're going to keep making good decisions as well. You know, we had the fair catch. They kicked off from the 50 in the Lion game, and we had to go to a different formation and get 2 guys back there and some of those things. So, again, we're preparing for all those things as well.
About how Jordan's personality is very even-keeled and he handles the good and the bad. Is Anders, given his role, is his personality that way too, where he handles both the good and the bad pretty well, or what do you see from him?
We think so, and again, if we go back to when we first got him, one of the things we like the most about him is his mental makeup, right? His ability to move on after a good kick, his ability to move on, you know, after a bad kick, and I think that's where, you know, we're all looking for growth, right, is how these guys handle mental toughness. In our opinion, mental toughness is being your best regardless of the circumstance. So I think whatever you did before, you have to learn from it, adjust, and then move forward, and we think he's been pretty good at that. Hopefully it'll stay that way. He's our kicker, right? We talked about in the beginning. We have a lot of confidence that he can keep improving. We have a lot of confidence that battery can keep improving as time goes on. And let's see if we can play. You know, they always remember December in the National Football League, right? So we'll see what it looks like here for the next month and a half or so.